Welcome to the Clock Tower. I'm Brandon here with Colton, and today we're previewing the slime deck that we did earlier this week on the channel. Colton, we're facing up against, looks like Gura. Do you want to talk about Gura for a second?
Yeah, it's Hololive time. This one is the Kali level 1 into the Gura top end. So not playing the Oski package in this build, trying to experiment with some different things before the fall season. Because I might be on this list for fall, we'll see.
It's worth noting that you are playing unrestricted currently, as it's projected to be unrestricted as it comes into English.
Yes, this is unrestricted English. It's got the Ames in it, the whole 9 yards. So
Just wanted to clarify before diving in. I'm running the 8 pants build that I previewed earlier this week. That's the Shizu level 1 combo into the Murin level 2 combo, going into that kind of off finisher with Benimaru at level 3. So I already have 2 copies of my Shizu combo in hand, going and grabbing the third. So I am prepared for level 1 when that time comes. I have my 2 bit oversizes on field, which actually works out pretty well in this matchup, as it takes a little bit of resources for you to step over these. So I actually have a pretty solid start for this game.
yeah, I really only have the Drop Searcher as my oversize in this list. So Hololive doesn't really run a ton of oversized stuff at 0 typically. So me being kind of still stuck at 0, I'm going to have to let you plus on board, which isn't ideal. I also don't run, um, like obviously I'm trying to limit the number of soul triggers in the deck. So I do run a pretty sizable number of zeros in this deck, despite that, because I have the soul trigger on the CX swap. But just had the 1 for this turn.
Knowing that, and because my pieces survived cross turn, and I have my pieces ready to go for 1, but because you're
Mm-hmm.
still at 0, I elect to not try to force that level 1 turn, but
Yeah,
rather kind of keep the plussing zeros on field to plus an extra turn.
yeah, and to be fair, I'm also not going to put a big board out that Shizu's going to struggle with, right? Like my only real standby target at 1 is the Ame, and the Ame only sits at 7, so I'm going to put that in the back row so I can have it for next turn. But that also does play into what I want to do a little bit, because I don't have a big like from hand playable level 1 board, being able to just, play some Callies down or play any other zeros I happen to have is pretty nice. I play over the Ame level 0 to try to go get something, looking for the second lane of combo. So I'm able to step over all 3. And I think I overplayed my hand. We talked about this even during this game at this point. I think I overplayed my hand here. Um, Tried to get a second Brainstormer down to mill through the deck, and then didn't have as many cards in the deck as I wanted for the actual Kali combo mill effect, which is mill 4, or up to 4, I should say, and then salvage something with level equal to the number of soul triggers milled. So pretty solid combo, generally gives you good selection. I decided to mill 4 in the middle lane to make sure that I got my Ame, and then I just swung with the last lane. And because I'm running 35 soul triggers, something like that, I felt pretty confident that I was going to hit a 1. So I did. So I was able to get another Kali into hand. So I can potentially try to loop the combo if I get the CX back into hand, or I can just have a playable if I'm still stuck at 1.
So I debate here. I debate whether to do triple combo or to just double with the Ricky, because the Ricky would be enough to step over as well. If I did
Mm-hmm.
triple combo, I would have actually refreshed with Climax still in the resolution zone.
Yeah.
So I elected to only do double combo here, in part because it's not as important for me to get the combo into memory, because I don't run
Mm-hmm.
the early play that relies on that, nor am I trying to
Right.
play into that memory condition, like as hard as some other times in previous slime builds. So it's
And I think if anything, that might actually kind of free the build a little bit,
mm,
because you're not like, as much as the memory package is like what made slime powerful in previous seasons. Now that you can kind of lean away from that a little bit, it gives you a little bit more freedom with the plays you can make, because you don't have to crutch on getting that memory compression anymore.
like I mean, memory compression is still memory compression.
It's still good. Like, I mean, it's still good, but Yeah, so the Lammy in the middle is actually over because the Brainstormers in the back each give 1500 on my turn, so I'm able to win all 3 lanes again here. I don't have a CX to slam, but it's stock, which is fine. I'm also able to stabilize a little bit with my hand. Like I'm still sitting at 4, but I was able to get a board down because again, like I think I overplayed my hand earlier in the game, so this allowed me to kind of recover from that a little bit, kind of fix my hand and be ready for level 2.
I do play the Aqua Ricky here. I wanted more cards in hand. Realistically, I just like I didn't. It wasn't. It was
Yeah.
like it was really close to that line of like, is it going to be worth it or not? And ultimately, it
Mm-hmm.
ended up working out really well here. Able to get all 3 colors in at 2. I am able to triple combo here, and I have the full like back row support. Like this is like your ideal level 2
Yep.
board if you're slime here.
Yeah, and this is, I think this combo's pretty good. I'm not sure exactly where it fits in the slime package, right? Like the Shizu into this kind of feels weird because you're using both of your combos on mid game plussing, which feels weird, but this is essentially, a Kanata Alice type of combo, right?
Yeah, the double plus at
So it
2. Yeah.
yeah, so it generates a lot of resources. It fixes your hand for your end game, and your end game is also really simple because you don't actually need a CX. So the combo list top end kind of allows you to play into this, but it also does, kind of stifle your finishing capacity a little bit because you're not running a combo that does a bunch of burns. You're running kind of an off finisher kind of thing at the top.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
for
really good.
me,
I think that actually it's really it feels very natural in play, which I
yeah.
think is really helpful here. It also has that sustain. It fixed that sustain issue that was a big problem with the deck before. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
didn't get off your plussing that you needed at 1, your sustain
Yeah.
through the mid game was going to be real rough. So a combo that kind of leans more towards what the deck wants to do, right? Kind of the healing, the being very efficient with resources.
Yep.
So
So I knew the IMA was in the deck, the level down IMA. I knew it was in there, so I tried to brainstorm to find it, and it was there. Send it into waiting room, and also hit my last CX to go get it, which lets me take the back row piece away, which takes away the hexproof from the rest of the board, so I can level down one of the front row 2 ones as well, and it allows me to pump enough power to make sure that I get over. The IMA is really good. Like this IMA is honestly such a good profile. I don't think we talk about how good this card is enough. And like I made my early play condition because I had the red in my clock and the yellow and blue in my level, so it's just really good. It allows you to break a board against pretty much anything that's board based because it just takes away the board.
I debated the encore to encore the back row back into play after the level down, but it was
Mm-hmm.
just going to be too many resources. Because ultimately, I would
Yeah,
still have to play the counter to even get past the Amelia's on play.
right,
So
right.
it was just kind of like, what do I do here kind of idea.
Yep. And I would also, I would get 2 level downs, so I would still be able to. I would deal with the power quite well. Like the power from the back row is gone at that point. It allows me to, force counter at least. I'm definitely over in the middle at that point. But yeah, and the Ame, of course, it gives me the extra stock, so I'm sitting on 9 stock. And this is where the choice build at level 1 is different from the Oski. The Oski, you're trying to get a free Gura down, right off of some standby, either a trigger or playing it from hand at level 2.
I will play the level 1 in the back row here in just a second because I need the full condition for it.
Yeah. So I'm in a good spot. I'm 1 stock short of being able to triple, which is probably the reason why Oski is the way to play the Gura top end. the Oski standby combo. I think it gets you that little bit of extra plussing because you do get the free Gura essentially. So it saves you that last little bit of stock that you need. You can also, just randomly trigger free pluses. You can get an Ame, save you a little bit of stock in the mid game. So I'm capped at 2 Guras here, despite having 9 stock, despite getting double Ame down. But still, oh no, I have 2 Guras.
Which is still pretty strong.
Yeah. This is one of the, if not the most powerful top ends we've ever seen in terms of just pure damage push. It's trying to push 8 damage per lane. Right? 2, 1, 1, and then you're probably triggering because you're running, 30, 35 soul triggers in this list. So you're probably swinging for 4 in addition to your burns. It's expensive, but just incredible value off of that cost anyway. So
No, absolutely. It is a pretty powerful engine coming in here, especially because most of those burns are all on attack. So it's very hard to counterplay a lot of that damage coming in.
yep.
Especially when they can side attack at the top, especially if the
Mm-hmm.
damage race is a lot closer. Like,
Yep.
essentially go 2-1-1-1 is especially facing off against level 3s even is actually pretty terrifying.
Yep. I forgot to pay my 2 stock for the Cali, so I paid that a little bit late. If you have 2 stock and 2 Gura at the start of your turn, you're good. Or at the start of your attack phase, rather, you're good. So I have the Cali with the Musashi. I do like the Musashi as the off finisher of choice in this. If you can't get to 3 Guras, 2 Guras and a Cali feels pretty good. And also seeing a cancel on a 1 always feels nice because then you have a better chance to stick to the 4.
Mm-hmm. It's like it.
So Gura just kind of presents lethal every time. You're able to cancel out. And I'm sitting at 3-0. I'm going to go back 8 out of 39, which isn't amazing. But that's one of the risks you kind of run with Hololive is because you're kind of throwing cards all over the place with the Ame. You're also using a ton of resources with the Gura. If you do not close with the Gura, you are not going to be well compressed. So the Gura kind of has to close in most games.
I got a little excited here, and I don't actually do the on play reveal the top card of my deck, and if it's a character burn 1. Which
it does not end up mattering.
No.
Spoilers. Because I just eat damage off the top because I went back 8 out of 39, which is not great. I'm not super sold on this Benimaru as a consistent finisher. It kind of requires that your opponent is not only at 3-0, but also is a little bit decompressed at least in order to get to 7 damage. So that's probably my biggest issue with the deck, is that it still doesn't quite feel like it has a true finishing top end. It's got a lot of good plussing in the middle, right in the mid game, because level 1 combo is, it's just cigarettes, which is good. The level 2 comes down, is big, so it can, get over whatever's on the board. It can get over standby stuff. It can get over Kanatas or whatever happens to be on the board at level 2 for your opponent. It gets over Alice. But the plussing is good. I don't know about the finishing.
I think the finishing is actually fine, because it's a guaranteed burn. At least it's minimum trouble girl, which is kind of the minimum of what things need to be.
I'd say that we're at a point where Trouble Girl is not
enough. Yeah, I recognize that, but I also recognize it as a non-finisher. But being able to pair it with things like the Milim here, to potentially get that additional +1 burn before on main phase and get the on reverse clock kick, so kind of that almost guaranteed 2 additional points of damage, I think is actually a pretty good addition with these 2 pieces.
I don't disagree. I think you're playing this as optimally as you can, but I also can't help but feel like I'm looking at Apocrypha in those many games when you just whiff your Mordred CX. where you're just playing this like suite of off finishers that all kind of have some kind of burn one or something on them, which is fine, but it's not great. So ultimately, I think that that's what's going to keep this deck specifically from being super relevant is the I just don't think that even if you get 6 instances of damage, right? That's just not enough anymore. Like you've got to close from not only 3-0 but now beyond 3-0 in the current meta because you're going to die from 3-0 against most of the good stuff at the top of the meta right now. Like Quince, Overlord, Gura, all this stuff that's new and coming out, a couple of different SAO top ends will all kill you consistently from 3-0. Even stuff that's further down in, what we would call the tier list is consistent enough at the top to close from 3-0. So I think this is a deck that still wants a 2-turn endgame, and I'm not sure it's going to get it. But aside from that, I like the list a lot.
I think it's fun. I think it's a fun deck. I think it's a fun play on the slime. Still being able to kind of get a lot of that slime um, things you were doing before with just
Mm-hmm.
some new tools, some new things as well. So I like it. I like it. It's a bit more defensive than slime was in the past, I think. So being able to kind of playing with similar cards in a different way, I think is a fun thing to do. So
And it's also massive. Like the thing with the level 2 is that it is also just huge. So it's hard to clear 3 lanes of what is it, 13-5, 12-5,
yeah,
13-5, something like
12-5,
that.
yeah.
It's sitting at like it's sitting huge. It's really hard to clear 3 lanes of that, no matter what you're playing.
And I think the hexproof is also a big deal too, especially with kind of all
Yeah,
of the defensive opportunities people have. I think that makes it a little
yeah,
bit even, or evens up the playing
mm,
field a little bit because it can deny a lot of the defensive tools. But
yeah.
regardless, this was the deck. Next week we're gonna have a clock talk, followed up with 5 cards, 5 minutes from Review Starlight, the new set coming out, and then in 2 weeks we're gonna have another deck video. So
Yeah, Brandon will have another slime deck. We'll have more gameplay for that in a couple of weeks. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one.
we'll see you then.